What what appealed to you about his writing?
Well, I think that what Dayton combines is a kind of reporter's ear for detail and story, good story, with a historian's sort of rigor for scholarship, and then a new sort of X factor, which is the personal. He's a really emotional person, and he feels these things as much as he thinks them and sees them and hears them. And I think that combines to make them to make the writing not only well-rounded, but to make his just overall approach incredibly humanistic. We're both looking for stories. I described since my very first film that what I was engaged in was an emotional archaeology, and I think that that's what he is after as well.
I was asking him because I thought one of the most moving moments that I've practically ever seen on film was him talking about Meriwether Lewis's suicide. It's just gripping. And when you were filming that, when you were involved in that, it must have been sort of a bifurcated feeling of the powerful emotion and also, my God, this is great film.
Well, I think, when you're doing an interview, you just sort of accept what you have, and then later on you work with it. Dayton's emotions are very close to the surface all the time. He's he's the Yellowstone National Park of human beings. That is to say, things bubble up from the surface all the time, and so he feels these stories very intensely. And this is a story he knew and loved for, more than a decade, and you really felt it. But there were many other times in the film where he began to tear up, and we just kept that off camera, as we've done now in the national parks and in other things, and you'll see there's incredibly moving parts of that as well.
Yeah. Do you feel, it seems there's a certain wavelength that you're both on. Has that been a pretty constant sense, or do you go off in different directions?
Well, I think that we're two very, very different people, but our sympathies are so similar that it may, at first blush, suggest that we're on the same wavelength. But I think it's more complementary. That is to say that I bring certain things, he brings other things, and they work really well. He's an incredibly great writer, an incredibly great producer, dogged in both areas in his determination to get it right and do the right thing. And that's incredibly invaluable, particularly nowadays as I've moved to being, to working on several things at once. To know that there's somebody like Dayton on the ground on a particular project is to be able to sleep at night.
Yeah.